opportunity to speak to you all. Just give you a quick background on me before I want to get into a few things that's going on in Knox County Commission right now. I'm a two-time graduate of the University of Tennessee in Knox County, and Knoxville's been my home for I think close to 32 years now. Although I was born in an Air Force base in Texas, moved around a lot as a kid, came here to the University of Tennessee, and Tennessee's been my home for a long, long time. Through my family, both sides of my family, really from the Marion County and Hamilton County area in southeast Tennessee. Grandfather was fire chief and ran W.R. Grace in South Pittsburgh. The other grandfather was Chaplain McCauley and lived in the sort of South Pittsburgh, or the Chattanooga area, the Pacific Mountain area. So spent a lot of time this year, came here to the University of Tennessee, had a great education, and then got the bug to do film and television production. Went to Dallas to work in the film industry, went to Los Angeles to work in the film industry, traveled a little bit, came back here to work in the television industry when Scripps was kind of in its early heyday, and worked basically for doing all the cable programming that you would have known, and really was a film and television producer for many, many years. Was part of the sort of my first public service, if you will, getting involved with the community. Really started with downtown. I was here in 2001-2 timeframe when downtown was still pretty much a ghost town, and was part of a group of people that sort of were trying to revitalize the core of our city, and got involved with a lot of activities that were trying to bring back people into downtown. So helped with a group starting movies on Market Square, then started the ice rink on Market Square that brought people in for the holidays, East Tennessee Chili Cook-Off, lots of other events that brought people to sort of gather in our downtown core, renovated a building down there, started our business down there, and eventually I left, and my wife left the news world, and working with Jewelry Television, we started our own production company, and we were doing everything from commercials to documentaries to educational and professional photos. In 2007, I had a near-fatal accident right in the middle of sort of the height of my career. Shouldn't be here with you today, and happy to get a second chance on life. But that led to the formation of the charity that we started, Random Acts of Flowers, which you may have heard of. We recycle, repurpose flowers after weddings, funerals, special events, grocery stores, take those to patients in hospitals, nursing homes, and hospice care. And I think that was really the shift from me getting more and more involved with the community, and really sort of leaning into, I'd been focused on success, as you would in your early 30s, and really shifted to a focus on significance and impact, and honoring the fact I got a second chance. That charity still goes to today. It's I'm really, really proud of it, the work it's done. We're now in Indianapolis and Tampa Bay and Asheville, North Carolina, and another one starting in Chattanooga. And we've delivered almost 800,000 bouquets to patients in hospitals, nursing homes, hospice care, mostly done with 98% volunteer labor, and a whole bunch of community members that really believe in it. And it's a really great program. If you ever want to know more, let me know. It was at that time where I really started to get more involved with the community, serving on boards, helping nonprofits and charities, and sort of leaning into the role of service. And got recruited a few times to asked if I would ever run for office. And like most people, I had been a lifelong voter, a lifelong Republican, but I'd never been actively involved in the political scene, and certainly had never run for office. And at the time, it just wasn't the right time for me, and that was for a commission seat. Marlene Davis and two Republicans, Janet Testerman and Hugh Nystrom, ran for District 4. I'd known Hugh, and I supported him, and just kind of went back to work. And then in 2016 or so, the two at-large seats were coming up, and a few people asked me again, and so I leaned into learning more about it, and that was really the time that I spending about 6 months going to meetings, talking to people, going to the departments, talking to other elected officials, and really understood sort of why local government was so important. I like most people, would probably look at the national news or what's going on in Nashville and think about that, but didn't really focus locally. And it was at that point, and I think I met Ed Shells, was one of the first people I met there, just helping understand how it meant something to be involved locally, and what local government did to really nudge the community. And so that is when I got involved, and I decided to run countywide. I don't know what I was thinking, going from virtually never being involved to running countywide, but the focus was always, and has always been, on service. It really hasn't been on trying to just win a race. It's showing up, serving, and being part of the community. And so I was fortunate to be elected and represent 500,000 people now re-elected in 2022 and proud to serve as the chairman for a year. And I don't have any of our numerous committees and all the different things that we do, but it's been a real pleasure being a commissioner. And I look back at now 7 years going into my 8th year on the second term and look at the accomplishments that we've, tangible things that we've done that I can really sort of put my efforts into and say, these are things that I'm proud to show as real accomplishments. A few of those include the Beaver Creek watershed cleanup. If you all know about this, really connects 5 different communities, and it is cleaning up the watershed of entire Knox County and helping bring back the water quality and clean up the creek, reduce flooding so businesses and families don't get flooded out. That's been a great project. Our Junior Commissioner Civics Youth Leadership Program has been a tremendous success. We just finished our 3rd year of that. And it's really to engage the high school juniors and seniors in why local government matters, why it's so important to get involved civically. And that has been a huge success, and I'm really proud of that project. I'm in the final phase of trying to wrap up the North Shore Greenway and pedestrian safety project to improve North Shore Drive between Concord Road and Concord Roundabout and Choteau Roundabout, which includes widening, some turn lanes, and a greenway that connects people so they don't have to be in the ditch trying to get to the park and connect those nearways. Mental health support and our first ever mental health, state of mental health report in Knox County, and a new environmental scan. I'll talk about that in a minute. That's coming up. Obviously, we went through Advanced Knox and our growth policy plan. That was a heavy lift for all of us for many, many years, trying to figure out how and where do we grow and where do we move forward. I was the founder of the Play Space Fund at the Knox Education Foundation, so that every public school has a playground that isn't rusty and isn't broken and isn't derelict, and bringing those all up to snuff and making sure that kids have a place to play. We've worked on historic raises and bonuses and support for the Knox County Sheriff's Office and the law enforcement, and I worked really hard for a number of years to reform the Merit Council and get that in a place where it was honest, fair, transparent, and really worked for the officers as a protection. We've done a lot of work in veteran support through mental health services with our partners at McNabb, our work with Liberty Place Housing and Smoky Mountain Service Dogs. We've been working with Knox County Senior Centers and the CAC program and mobile meals for a number of years, and I'm thrilled whenever they call and say I need help. I'm happy to show up at any point. We've modernized the commission offices and the processes and really the online information. I think when you look at the commission website versus the Knox County website, you'll see a much more modern way to engage with folks and give them information, to give them access to their government. Built 3 new elementary schools with Mayor Jacobs and the commission at Adrian Burnett, Lonsdale, and Mill Creek, and we got a few more on the way. And then working on new park assets in Knox, Hardin Valley, Halls, and Powell, and a few more that are on the line. And then I think one of the pivotal projects when I first came on commission was putting the AJ building back on into the private sector hands, getting the school system moved, which has been very productive to the school system, but also trying to figure out a way to own less property as Knox County. So those are some of the accomplishments and some of the things that I'm very proud of as a commissioner. And when I was talking to Brian earlier, I was thinking about what's going on today in commission, and this has a lot to do with just the ongoing work. I mean, I think you all hear the headlines, you hear when big votes happen, but as you know, County Commission runs every day, every week, all the time. Every month we get together. There's so many things going on right now, I just think you ought to be aware of. And I sort of broke them into short-term things and long-term things. So here's a few updates for you. You'll remember about a year ago, I worked on trying to figure out how to clean up double poles in Knox County. Knox County is littered with double utility poles where a new one is put up and the old one is left there. They create hazards, they create issues in our right of way, and they break and they snap and they become nuisances. And so I worked hard with our commissioners and the utilities for a year now to sit down and try to remind them that just because it's vertical doesn't mean it's garbage. And one of the big issues is the the challenge between the utility companies, a KUB and LCUB, Clinton, things like that, and the attachers, the AT&T and those, WOW and Comcast and all that. And so we're working on that. In July, I'm going to give a 1-year report to how did we do with that initiative, and try to wrap it up with some recommendations. We through help with Mr. Wright here, we worked on the electronic participation bill for like 3 years, I think, and we finally got it passed. This gives county commissioners if they are medically unable to attend physically to the meeting, dealing with a death in the family or a military service, military duty, then they can participate in the meetings electronically. Ironically, the school board has had this right for 15 years and it's never been an issue, but the county commission didn't, and so we, with help from Senator Briggs and Representative Wright, we got that passed, but I got to put a policy together and introduce that. That'll happen in August. Digital voting, we're moving to a digital agenda, digital minutes, and digital voting for the commission meetings, where instead of doing voice votes or doing roll call votes as we traditionally do and kind of rotating around the dais, we'll actually have a bill in front of us or a resolution or an ordinance. We'll debate it, we'll talk about it, and then we'll cast our votes electronically, and then when those votes are locked, they will appear just like in the House of Representatives up on the board, and it'll show who voted how and why. That'll be put into the electronic minutes, and it's sort of a modernization of how we vote. That's gonna probably be training in August and then implemented probably in September, so we're on the final throes of that. I talked about the mental health assessment and the environmental scan. One of the things that's happening in the last 4 or 5 years in getting involved with mental health services and what does mental health mean for Knox County, it became really evident to us that the right hand didn't know what the left hand was doing. The DA does great work in these areas, but the sheriff didn't know what they were doing over here. McNabb was in these sections, and then Cherokee was over here, and there's all these people working in it, but nobody was coordinating together. So we worked with the Knox County Health Department, and we put out a plan, an RFP, to get somebody to help us do an environmental scan of all of Knox County's mental health services. So everything from the hospitals to the clinicians, everywhere in between. What do we have? What are we missing? Where are the gaps? And where are the needs? And that's going to come out, I think it's going to come out in August. It might be into September, but that'll be the first sort of snapshot of all of Knox County and helping us understand what we have so we can work on that. The place-based fund at the Knox Education Foundation, phase 2 will be completed in August. That's I think 9 different elementary schools that'll be updated. And then in November, I'm going to be doing an update. I chair the finance committee, so I'm going to be doing an update in Knox County on our debt status, which I introduced a presentation on last year, and I want to give everybody an update of where we are and what's coming and talk about that. Long-term projects include the Unified Development Ordinance, the UDO, all those known as our zoning laws, and those are being updated to coordinate with our growth policy plan. So we created this plan, where are we going to grow, how are we going to grow, and what's it going to look like for the next 20 to 30 years. Now we have to have the laws and the zoning laws to attach to that to make sure that they're enforced, and it's a lot of like really dense, boring stuff, but it's got to be done because if we don't have the tools, we can't develop in the right way. So that passed last year, we're working on it now. We expect it to be done sometime in 2026, maybe by summer of 26, but it's a big, long process, a lot of public input, a lot of meetings, a lot of planning. So that's a big one coming up. The Beaver Creek watershed cleanup continues in Carnes, and we will have a new put-in and a park right near the rugby park. That will be our third put-in and take-out and access point for the creek. First one is at Powell, second one is at Royal Arthur Stormwater Park at Harrell Road. Third one will be at the Carnes Rugby Park, and we'll start working on 11 of those between Halls and Melton Hill. The project is so unique because it really connects. It starts in Gibbs, Beaver Creek, but it becomes navigable in Halls, and it connects 5 different communities. So we've got Halls, Powell, Carnes, Solway, Hardin Valley, and all along that everybody has a sort of a piece of the puzzle. That'll come out in 2026. We'll have that, should have that done by the end of this year, beginning of next year. We were fortunate to work with Mr. Bill Weigel to get nearly 20 acres of land donated right near Clinton Highway and Beaver Creek. And that will be a new park. We're trying to work on how do we fund that and working with Legacy Parks on that. That'll be a new park and put in sometime in 26, 27. We are continuing to clear the stream. The first thing we have to do is clear it out. When we started, we had 180 jams between Halls and Melton Hill. Some that were the size that Dave and I could go out and take out of the creek, and some were the size of this church. And I kid you not, we had to come in with cranes. To date, we have removed 3,083 tons 3,083 tons of green waste, trees, debris, trash, etc. We're probably only about a third of the way there, so we got a lot of heavy lifting, quite literally, left to do. That'll happen over the next, I think 3 to 5 years, give or take, as long as we stay focused on it. The North Shore Drive road improvements in Greenway will finish up in 2026. This is the last fourth of 4 phases that will include Calorie Ridge Trailhead, the Greenway, and the improvements to Concord Park, the boardwalk under the fishing bridge, and North Shore Drive to help people not have to play Frogger across North Shore on that really critical road. And then the last phase is connecting the Cove all the way to Chodo Circle with a greenway down the north side, and then improvements to the south side and a few turn lanes and shoulder work. So that'll happen between now and next summer. And then the last one, which you've heard about probably the most in the last couple of weeks, is the juvenile detention facility transition with our new board, sheriff and oversight, the oversight from the sheriff starting next year, and trying to sort of hit a reboot on that whole facility, working off of the 50 years of hard work that Richard Beans put into it and everybody's desire, and trying to kind of make sure it goes forward in a meaningful way. So that's a lot, and it's a lot of projects, but Commission always has a lot going on, and our Knox County government, we do our best to find ways to support our community, find ways to support our district, work with our mayor, and make Knox County a little bit better place. So with that.
Sure. Let me ask you, I know Concord Road, South North Shore, right? And
Yes.
there's now going to be a roundabout bypass.
Yeah.
Can
so,
you explain that?
Yeah, so Concord Road comes in off of the town of Farragut, sort of tees right into North Shore Drive. And if you, at that roundabout, if you go west, you'll go out to the markets at Chodo and Harvey and the county line. If you go east, you go back across that old TVA bridge, Lakeside Marina, the golf course, etc. And there's a significant amount of traffic that goes just along North Shore Drive that doesn't, literally is just going east to west and never needs to get onto Concord. So one of the things that, this is Commissioner Russell actually brought this idea to the table when we met about the other work, about having essentially a bypass lane. If you're going east or west and you don't need to get into the roundabout and get to Concord, just keep on trucking. It's sort of a fast track lane. There seems to be enough land that to be able to do that, and so engineering, we had enough money in the budget to kind of start the design work. So they're going to start looking to see if the design work will be able to sort of fit, and then reconfigure that, and then it'll have to be funded in future capital projects.
Cool. Now, you talked about Beaver Creek cleanup. Dave Wright, will you, what you said at Three Rivers, I don't support banning plastic grocery bags, but will you talk about what you shared about the Holston River? The most, you know what I'm talking about?
I said that before COVID, Senator Briggs and I had sponsored legislation to do away with plastic bags, because the Tennessee River is the most polluted plastic particulate river in the world. And I've been on the Ganges, and I've seen floating islands, acre floating islands of styrofoam. And to say that the Tennessee River is more polluted than the Ganges, I would have thought that's not correct. But it's a fact. The Tennessee River is polluted with particulate.
Yeah, and obviously I've been in State Senate District 6 since 1973. Up on that end from 73 to 92, and then on this end since 92. So I grew up on the Holston River, still have family that have land on the Holston River. So that was interesting. I didn't realize that statistic. Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Any questions about the county commission work?
Let me
Yes, sir.
make one comment to the things that were said about the accomplishments of Knox County. Being a state legislator, the thing that I saw most interesting was the kids coming to Nashville
The junior commissioners, yeah.
to see how government works. You don't need to be like I got in politics and be old and retired and then become interested in politics. I mean, it is a way to do it.
Yeah.
But for kids, for teenagers to know how the government works and to maybe figure out why laws are passed, but more importantly, where does the funding come from? That's the most significant program I would pat you on the back for.
And the one thing Larsen did not share is that in its third year, it is an award-winning program.
Yeah, we just won a NACO a National Achievement Award for the program under civics education. And let me tell you why I started that program. It was 2 election cycles back, and it was amazing to me to look at the data from voting and to see how few people are voting. Tennessee's literally 51st in the country behind the District of Columbia in voting participation. And the last couple of cycles, this one is a little bit better, this last election, but the last couple of cycles, we had 1 in 10 registered voters show up in the primary, 2 in 10 in the general, and only 4 in 10 in the national. And it just baffled me with the #1 voter integrity in the country, with 3 weeks of early voting where you can go anywhere you want, for an election commission that tirelessly works to make sure everyone has an opportunity to vote in any way possible, no matter where you are and what you are. Like, to not have people participate in your voting system, I got just really frustrated. And so at the same time I was going through that data and I couldn't understand it. I took some tours of some of our local high schools, and I met some of our juniors and seniors and some of the programs. I was just doing tours, and they blew me away because their questions for me were all about impact, my place in the world. The commodity for the rising juniors and seniors and the kids coming out of high school is not social media like you think it is. They use it, but it's technology and social media that sort of passed through and has become normal. The commodity for rising high schoolers right now is, what's my place in the world? What's my impact in the world? And this is why I think our 865 Academy is great, because it's what's my purpose? What am I passionate about? And so I was so impressed with them, and we talked about civics education, and so it was a real gamble. I went to the commissioners and I said, I have an idea for a program where they will literally come and be beside us for a period of time, pitch this idea. They were supportive of it. We got to work. And the Junior Commissioner Program is open to high school juniors and seniors, and they can be from public schools, private schools, or accredited homeschool programs. And they apply to be a junior commissioner. They can either apply to be with their district commissioner or one of the 2 at-large commissioners. We get, over the holidays, we get a whole stack of applications. We read through those essays and applications, and then each commissioner chooses their junior commissioner. And from January through pretty much the end of March, they are embedded with us. They are right beside us. They vote with us. They sit on stage with us. They ask questions with us. They go to community meetings, cleanups. They go out and learn things. We take 4 or 5 different field trips, engineering and public works. We take them to the elections department. We show them how the sausage is made in finance and all the other things that we do as a commissioner. And they are actively involved. We take them to the jail, and we talk about law and order, and we have the DA and the sheriff present on the same night. We do all these things to sort of make sure they understand that it's tangible to them, and it's right here. Like, you can't call Washington and say, hey, I got some stuff I need done. And you can barely call Nashville and do that, but you can do it right here. You can pick up the phone and say, hey, Terry, I need something in my community. And so it's a great program. We're in our 3rd year, and we've had the best group. And this year we added 1 more field trip because they all came to us about halfway through the program and said, we want to go to Nashville. It was not on our list. It was not on our radar. I was not had a chaperone, trip set up. But the junior commissioners came to us. We've had the best group ever, and they said, we want to go to Nashville because we hear you all talking about working with the state, but we want to see it. And we said, okay. So we got CAC to give us a driver and a bus, and we took the kids and we met with our legislators over there, and we showed them the process. We sat in on Senate finance meetings. We sat in on the House voting. We had them meet with our Lieutenant Governor and our Secretary of State, and we helped them understand, when we have issues here, how do we work with the state, and when the state has initiatives, how do they work with the county? And so it demystified most of this, and you wouldn't believe the responses when we get the exit surveys of how many of our high school students who go through the program say, I understand now, I get it, I'm excited. Some that want to run for office, yes, and some who are just, now talking to their parents about, you gotta go vote, you gotta participate. And so it's a great program. I'm super proud of it, and we're gonna keep it going as long as possible.
Well, we had many. How many did we have that actually came and helped at the reorganization?
I think
The
9 or 10 out of the 11 came to the reorganization.
Yeah.
And they've worked on some campaigns already, doing some door knocking and things, and they're learning, and they're still coming back to
Right,
meetings.
yeah,
The program was done April 1st, and all of a sudden one will show up and just pop in the seat and go, oh, I'm back.
Yeah, yours has been back. Durette's has been back, and there's another one.
Several of them have been back, and actually one of the students, I think in the first class, is interested in running for city council in the next cycle after he's done.
Is that in the 3rd district or the 6th?
Second.
Oh, well, Doug,
Next
you and George are safe. Then
Yeah.
you're good.
Hey, look, they're amazing, and I give them great props for just being involved, and they spend a lot of time with us, and I'm really impressed that they gave the commitment for it. So thank you, Dave. I really appreciate that.
Anything else? Yes, Ed.
I guess one of the hottest topics, at least in the media anyway, juvenile court. Where do you think we're headed there? I mean, I read.
It's fixed. It's fixed now, right?
The judge.
Yeah, there'll be a board of directors of 5. So sort of the old system, we voted under an emergency measure to sort of restructure it, if you will, and the old board is gone and a new board has been constituted. I think it is important to remember the sort of hierarchy of the structure always starts with DCS and the Department of Children's Services, and there are so many different rules, regulations, and policies of how do you work with juveniles and juvenile detention facilities. So it's not like the jail. It's not like we just take Maloneyville Road Jail and sort of shrink it down and it's over here. It's a completely different type of program, different rules, different regulations, different safeguards and securities. But that will, DCS will always remain at the top. This board has been constituted for essentially about a year, a little over a year, to come in, work with an interim superintendent, try to figure out what the landscape looks like for the future, and then work on a partnership with the sheriff's office starting in January to sort of take over the supervisory role of the day-to-day operations, the officers. You have officers in there working every day. And then my guess is that board, I was asked to serve on the board, and I said yes, I'll be happy to help. And that board, my guess will start figuring out what it's supposed to look like in the future. I'm a big proponent that it should have some elected officials on it, but we should have some people from outside that maybe have specialty professions in law or juvenile justice or psychiatry or youth services. So Commissioner Lee has been asked by the judge to serve on that as well, and she'll bring her law expertise in that regard. Commissioner Hill has worked a lot with juveniles in the school system. Myself and Commissioner Rawls and Jackson as well. But my guess is once we get in there, and there's a interim gets in there, we'll start figuring out what the future of the board will look like. I would hope that we would get in and provide some oversight, and then figure out what it looks like for the future and get out of the way pretty quickly so that it can be run by independent people outside of Knox County government. But maybe there'll always be a representative.
Hopefully within the budget that's appropriated for it now.
Say that again?
The budget, hopefully within the budget, I think it's $5 million a year, isn't it?
Yeah, the budget's about $5 million a year. There's a lot of people that work there, and you'll be surprised. And again, because of some of the rules and regulations, you can't just have one officer or one administrator over the whole place. I mean, it's a pretty regimented outfit, and ultimately, we have to care for the children in our care, regardless of what they've done to be there. And I'm a big believer that places of incarceration should be places of rehabilitation, and especially with our youth. And so we're going to lean in. It's not easy, but it can be done, and we can figure it out together. And I'm confident that Judge Irwin and his expertise, along with everybody, some of the other expertise that we have at our disposal. We have PBA that manages buildings, and we might bring them in. We have Circuit Court Clerk Charlie Cesano and Criminal Court Clerk Mike Hammond, who both have expertise in things that relates to courts and jails and stuff, and we can bring them in. So it's going to be an all hands on deck, and it's going to be open to the public as well. Our board meetings are going to be sunshine, and people can participate. So it's one of those things where everybody needs to know what the process looks like going forward, and we're gonna be very transparent about that.
Very good.
Yes, sir, buddy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I had volunteered to, rather than volunteer, I'll just say, I want a job. Because my specialty with the sheriff's office was electronic security equipment. So if I can come in and help evaluate from law enforcement experience and then my electronics, computers, and if they so do ask, I made it known that I'm willing to come over and just, offer my services for a temporary basis to help them kind of evaluate what they have.
I'm glad you said that, because there's actually several people that have reached out to us already. People that have worked in homeless juvenile world that have reached out and said, what can I do to help? People have worked in criminal justice, people have worked in legal aid and public defenders formerly, and the community has said, we value taking care of our children, how do we figure it out? So I think we're gonna invite a lot of folks to come have a seat at the table.
Cool. All right, thanks, Larsen.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate the opportunity.